They say that when we close our eyes, the mind awakens to a world where rules do not apply, a place where your deepest fears take form and your darkest secrets find a voice. But what if? What if that world didn't vanish when you woke up? Imagine this, a dream that doesn't fade with the morning light but lingers, an echo in your mind, a shadow in the corner of your eye, and then the unthinkable. What if your dreams could kill you? You think you know your own mind, that when you sleep, your body is safe, tucked away in the warmth of reality? But tell me this, can you truly trust what your mind conjures while you sleep? Do you even know if you're awake now, or still dreaming? Welcome to Wicked Reveries, a journey into the fractured boundaries between the real and the imagined, a story where the familiar becomes strange and every dream is a door to the unknown. Stay with me, if you dare, because by the end of this story, you may never look at sleep the same way again. But beware, sometimes the only thing worse than a nightmare is waking up. There's a moment just before you wake where everything feels wrong. The walls seem closer, the air heavier, and your pulse quickens with no reason at all. What if I told you that moment isn't a glitch, it's a warning, a reminder that dreams aren't always safe? You've heard the stories. People waking up gasping for air, swearing they felt hands around their necks. Others waking in tears, clutching their chests, convinced they've just witnessed their own death. We call them nightmares. But what if they were something more? What if they were real? In Wicked Reveries, dreams are more than just fleeting images of the subconscious. They're doorways. They lead to a realm where every hidden fear, every buried regret, every unspoken desire takes form. And in this place, those dreams can turn deadly. Throughout history, there have been whispers, stories buried in old texts and forgotten myths. Take the case of the dreaming plague of 1785. An entire village claimed their dreams began overlapping. They spoke of the same figures, the same voice calling them deeper and deeper into sleep, until none of them woke again. Or the tale of Elise Ward, a researcher who uncovered a set of ancient symbols said to bridge the gap between the conscious and the dream realm. Her team vanished within days, and her final note simply read, "Beware the hollows where dreams live." What did she mean? And what does it have to do with us? You might think this is fiction, that it's all just a story. But tell me this, how many times have you awoken, unsure if what you saw in your dream was real? How often do you find yourself questioning the edges of reality? Can you really trust your own mind? Stay with me, because by the end of this tale, you might not just question your dreams, you might fear them. You've entered a story where dreams hold power, a world where what you fear, what you hide, and what you long for can become your undoing. But this isn't just about dreams, it's about you. As we unravel the layers of this tale, every twist brings us closer to the truth, a truth so chilling, so unimaginable, that it may change the way you look at your own mind forever. But beware, what lies at the end of this story isn't just a revelation, it's a warning, a glimpse into the darkness we all carry with us, whether we know it or not. Stay with me. Keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your heart steady. Because by the time this story ends, you might just find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew, even the reality you're in right now. Do you have the courage to face it? Let's begin. It was found where it should never have been, locked in a chest buried beneath the floorboards of a house long forgotten by time. An artifact, they said. A relic of dreams, they called it. A simple object, worn and unassuming. A journal with brittle pages, etched with writings that didn't belong to this world. Those who dared to open it spoke of its contents in hushed tones, accounts of dreams so vivid they left scars. The dreams it held weren't stories, but warnings, written by hands that claimed to have escaped, but none ever truly did. This is where our story begins, with the journal and the curse tied to it. But someone did. And in doing so, they unleashed something that should have stayed locked away, a doorway to a realm of nightmares, where reality unravels and fears take on a life of their own. The journal didn't just contain words, it was an anchor, a tether to the dream realm, where the line between what is real and what is imagined blurs, until you're left questioning if you're even awake. But the curse of the journal wasn't its words, it was the dreams it gave you, dreams that didn't end when you woke up. And if you're listening now, consider this your warning. you've already stepped too close to the edge. They say every story has its heroes, its villains, and its victims, but in this tale the lines blur and what you think you know will unravel faster than a fleeting dream. Meet Daniel Frost, a skeptic by trade and a detective by necessity. To Daniel, every mystery has a rational answer, and every horror a cause. Yet even he couldn't explain the journal, the way its pages whispered to him at night, or how he'd begun to see its words in his own dreams. What do you do when logic fails you? When the thing staring back at you doesn't blink, and you realize it's waiting for something? Then there's Eleanor Gray, a woman haunted by her dreams. Every night, the same shadowed figure chases her, its whispers louder, its steps closer. She's tried everything to wake up, but what if it's not the dreams that are trapping her? What if it's her? To Eleanor, sleep isn't rest, it's survival. And each time she opens her eyes, she wonders if the nightmare followed her back. And finally, the one they call the Archivist. No one knows their name or their origins, only that they appear when the dream realm calls. They don't guide out of kindness, but out of necessity. Because to them, the dream realm is more than a place. It's a living, breathing entity, and it's always hungry. 3 lives, tangled by the threads of a cursed artifact. One tethered to logic, one bound by fear, and one chasing truths they'll never fully reveal. Together, they will unravel the mysteries of the journal, or fall victim to the nightmares it births. But in this story, the answers won't save them. They'll only drag them deeper. Wake up. It started as it always did, a whisper so faint it felt like a memory, and a sensation like falling, though she hadn't moved. Eleanor knew she was dreaming. The problem was the dream knew her too. In the dream realm, nothing stays the same. The trees bent, as though alive, watching her. The shadows whispered her name. She couldn't make out the words, but she felt their meaning, run. But where do you run when the ground beneath you is alive? Where do you hide when the air itself has eyes? This wasn't just a nightmare. This was the dream realm. A place where fear takes form, where memories warp into mazes, and where your deepest guilt lurks, waiting to consume you. Climb, the voice urged, though she couldn't see who or what spoke. Each step felt heavier, as though she were carrying her entire life's regrets on her shoulders. She hadn't reached the top yet, but she already knew what was waiting. Meanwhile, in the waking world, Daniel was beginning to feel the effects. He hadn't closed his eyes in 3 days, not after the words from the journal began appearing in his case notes, on his walls, even in his coffee. Dreams can't hurt you, he told himself. But he wasn't sure he believed it anymore. The dream realm doesn't just show you what you fear, it shows you what you hide. And Eleanor's reflection, it knew everything. She was awake, or so she thought, but in Wicked Reveries, reality is just another layer of the nightmare. In dreams, the mind wanders to strange places, but when the dream wanders back, what then? Stay with us. The truth about Wicked Reveries is only beginning to unfold. What if every shadow in your dreams wasn't just a shadow? What if it watched you, remembered you? The dream realm doesn't play fair. It takes what you know, twists it, and waits for you to notice. By the time you do, it's already too late. Eleanor thought she could navigate it. After all, it was just a dream. But dreams, they don't obey your rules. They never have. And this dream wanted her to feel every mistake she'd ever made. The familiar betrays you here. A childhood memory becomes a predator. A reflection becomes a lie. And you're just prey. For Daniel, the dream realm wasn't just a nightmare. It was personal. Every failure, every doubt, every fleeting thought of guilt manifested here. They crawled toward him, taking shape, becoming real. The dream realm isn't just a reflection. It's an autopsy of your soul. The guide warned them. The realm feeds on what you hide. It knows your guilt, it knows your fears, and if you don't face them, you'll never leave. But how do you confront what you've buried deep? How do you fight shadows when they live inside you? Eleanor was learning the truth of the dream realm. Every step she took, it took one closer to her. Every choice she made, it watched, it waited. Because here the truth doesn't set you free, it chains you. Do you see them? The marks? They aren't just symbols, they're keys. But whose door do they open? In Wicked Reveries, the deeper you go, the harder it is to wake up. And the worst part, you might not even realize you're still asleep. The dream realm doesn't simply haunt you, it hunts you. And what it hunts most is your silence, your unspoken fears, and the truths you bury deep. It's not random, it's not chaos. Here the rules are simple. The stronger the fear, the stronger the pull. The guiltier the memory, the darker the shadow that follows. The guide calls it the hunger, a force that feeds on the pieces of yourself you refuse to face. The more you hide, the more it takes, and when it has enough, you disappear. But there's a way out, a single fragile thread connecting you to the waking world. The anchors, objects infused with your reality, pulling you back before the dream consumes you entirely. Lose the anchor and you lose yourself, but beware, anchoring yourself doesn't stop the dream. It only gives it more to fight for. The guide warned them, the dream realm knows. It sees your past. It twists your fears into labyrinths with no end, and if it senses resistance, it evolves. The hardest lesson of all? The dream doesn't create your fears. It mirrors them. Every shadow, every scream, every flicker of terror, it all comes from you. But how do you fight a predator that knows you better than you know yourself? How do you escape a labyrinth you built? One rule remains above all. You can't wake up if you don't remember who you are. Forget, and the dream keeps you forever. But the dream has rules for itself too. Rules no one has survived long enough to uncover. What if I told you the boundaries between dreams and reality were never meant to be crossed? What if, once blurred, they could never be mended? At first it's subtle, a fleeting shadow at the corner of your vision, a door closing somewhere far away, though you're alone. And then the whispers begin, words you can't quite catch, but know were meant for you. In the dream realm, memory is the first casualty. Faces you've forgotten stare back, their gaze is heavy with accusation. They know something you don't, or something you've tried to forget. This is when you realize it's not just a dream, it's a mirror. And every step you take distorts what you see and what you believe. You tell yourself it's not real, but the dream doesn't listen. It twists the familiar into weapons, your home into a prison, and your thoughts into its voice. And then it happens. Just for a moment. A crack in the illusion. You see yourself, watching, smiling, waiting. The dream doesn't just blur the line between real and unreal, it erases it. You question not just where you are, but who you are. And then the final question. If you wake up, how will you know it's really over? Because the dream isn't done with you yet. You've heard the stories, but you never thought it could happen to you. Not until you step too far into the dark and the shadows start to creep into your bones. One wrong move and you're no longer in control. The dream, once an abstract terror, takes on a shape that feeds on your worst fears, and it knows what you're running from. You think you can escape. You think it's just a nightmare you can wake from. But in this place, the nightmare is you. And as you reach out for something, anything, to anchor you back, the dream reminds you. You can't wake up if you don't know you're asleep. No scream escapes. No prayer reaches the air. Once the dream has you, there's no returning. It consumes you, body and soul, until you are lost in the nothingness of your own mind. One by one, the dream takes them, and you're left to wonder, could this be your fate too? You can't wake up if you don't know you're asleep. What if everything you thought you knew, every piece of your existence, was nothing but an illusion? What if the very ground beneath you, the air you breathe, was nothing more than a dream waiting to consume you? Welcome to the final dream. A place where the rules of reality dissolve, where your deepest fears and desires shape the very fabric of the world around you. The dream realm isn't a place to escape. It's a place to confront what lies beneath the surface of your mind. They say the mind is the most dangerous place to be. And here, in this fractured dreamscape, it's not just your mind. It's the very essence of your being that will be tested. Each step they take brings them closer to the source of this nightmare. But they must be careful. For in this place, nothing is as it seems. The line between friend and foe becomes blurred here. The deeper they venture, the more they realize. The nightmare is alive, and it feeds on their every doubt, every weakness. It has been waiting for them. In the final dream, there are no safe places. Time collapses, faces melt into new identities, and nothing holds its shape. The only question left is how much of you can you still hold on to before the dream consumes you whole. It's here, the moment they've been dreading. They've come so far, But now they face the true source, the nightmare that has been manipulating them from the start. They are not in control anymore, and neither is reality. Now the ultimate confrontation begins. They are not fighting to wake up. They are fighting to know, to understand the true nature of their nightmare. Will they emerge from the dream, or is it too late to ever escape? And as the dream bends and breaks around them, they realize the cruelest truth of all. The nightmare never ends. It only changes until you are lost inside it forever. Time is running out. The final dream is just the beginning. In a world where dreams blur the line between reality and nightmare, betrayal is the most dangerous form of darkness. What if the one person you trusted most was never on your side at all? What if they were the architect of your worst fears? As the final hour draws near, the survivor's sense of security shatters. A familiar face, the one who had led them through the nightmare, reveals their true nature. They are the very force that has been manipulating the dream realm all along. This was never a fight for survival. This was never about escaping the dream. It was always about control. And now the dreamer realizes the harsh truth. The nightmares they've been running from were never strangers at all. They were reflections of their own buried traumas. Pain they thought was long buried. Fears they didn't even know they had. Every nightmare, every monstrous shadow, every impossible fear, all of it, born from within. What they thought was an external force was nothing more than the echo of their own unresolved guilt, regret, and terror. The dreamer now stands at the precipice of truth. They have faced the terrors of the unknown, but now they must confront the darkest part of themselves. And in doing so, they realize the nightmare was always inside them. In this final moment, as the dream begins to consume them, the dreamer must make a choice: to accept the truth and break free, or to let the nightmare continue, becoming part of them forever. Because the hardest nightmares to escape are the ones that are born from within. What do you do when the very fabric of reality begins to unravel? When time and space bend, and even your own reflection becomes a stranger? This is it, the final confrontation. The dream, once a realm of haunting beauty and terror, now collapses around them. A battlefield where nothing is as it seems, where the laws of physics have long since abandoned all sense of order. But the true horror isn't in the monsters they face, or the nightmares that crawl out of the dark. It's in themselves, in the shadows that were always there, waiting to break free. Now their identities blur, lost in a kaleidoscope of broken timelines and fractured selves. Every step they take, every action they make, is a betrayal of who they once were. A twisted game where the rules shift with every heartbeat. Who are they now? Who can they trust when the very nature of their minds is turned against them? And there it is, the heart of it all, the final test, to confront the horrors within, to stand face to face with their own darkness and either destroy it or be consumed. In the end, the most terrifying thing about the dream realm isn't the creatures or the collapsing world around them. It's the truth that can no longer be ignored. What if it's all real? What if this nightmare is the only thing that's truly real? The dream no longer just threatens their lives, it threatens their very identities. Their minds, now at war with themselves, are the battleground. The dream entity feeds, not on their fear of the unknown, but on their fear of the self they can no longer recognize. And now the question remains, can they wake up? Or have they already fallen so deep that even the concept of waking is a lie? You've come so far, yet as the dream shatters around you, the question remains, did you truly escape? Or is this just another layer of the nightmare, carefully crafted to deceive your waking mind? The moment of reckoning has arrived, but not with the entity you've been hunting. No, the true monster has always been you, your fears, your regrets, your trauma. You thought you could outrun it, thought you could bury it beneath the layers of this twisted dream, but every fear you've tried to hide, every guilt you've buried, it's all here, waiting for you to face it. What if waking up is just another trap? What if the nightmare never ends? It only shifts its form, tricking you into believing you're free. You've broken free, or so it seems. The nightmare crushed beneath the weight of your confrontation. But is it over? Is this peace? Or have you simply woken to a reality that isn't real? You defeated the dream. You confronted its horrors. But remember this, The line between dream and reality has never been so thin. And sometimes it's not the monsters you see that are the most dangerous, but the ones you don't. Are you truly awake? Or is this just another dream? Sometimes the hardest nightmare to escape is the one you never realize you're still in. You thought it was over, that you had escaped, but there are some things, some nightmares, that never truly end. The dream realm, once shattered, is not gone. It lingers, waiting, like a shadow at the edge of your mind. And now you wonder, is the nightmare over? Or is it simply biding its time? You may never truly know. For sometimes the most terrifying dreams are the ones that don't end with an awakening. They leave behind a trace, a clue, a riddle you cannot solve. But still it haunts you, like an itch you can't scratch no matter how hard you try. The pages turn even when you aren't looking. The cycle, the nightmare, it continues. And that question, the one you've been asking yourself, it isn't just a question anymore. It's a warning. You can never truly wake up, not when the dream is still watching you. And perhaps it's already too late to escape. You've witnessed the unimaginable, the horrors of a dreamscape where fears are no longer just figments of imagination, but relentless living nightmares. But as the dreamer awakens, we are left with one question. Is this the end? Or is there more? Is the nightmare simply waiting for its next victim to slip back into its grasp? What do you think? Could it happen again? And if so, who will be next? We've all had our share of unsettling dreams, but what if yours weren't just dreams at all? What if your nightmares are alive, breathing and waiting, just beneath the surface of reality? I want to know what you think. Do you believe the nightmare truly ends, or is there something waiting for you in your dreams? Share your thoughts, your experiences, or perhaps your nightmares. And if you've been left wondering what comes next, make sure to like, subscribe and share, for this is far from over. And remember, the dream will always find you, no matter how far you run.